Hey, 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 party people. It's Brandi and Cesley, and we're back with Blooming Through Faith, the podcast that helps you grow and bloom in your mindset, lifestyle, health, and wealth. We want you to know that you are capable, beautiful, and worthy. As this new year begins, there's a natural pull to reflect, right? And there's also a lot of pressure to have everything figured out. Well, we want to help you look at things differently, right? So we're not like stressing about new goals, new habits, new versions of ourselves, but one less thing to like strive for. We want to be more about intention, right? And the goals are good and we'll help you with that later. But right now, we really want to focus on intention and word of the year instead of chasing resolutions that often fade. And we do not like resolutions here at Blooming Through
Nope.
Faith. We are not a fan of New Year's resolutions. We are a fan of being intentional and setting habits that are attainable, right? Smart habits. But we're going to today talk about the word of the year. All right. So a single word that becomes an anchor, something you return to when life feels overwhelming or unclear. This episode is for anyone who wants to step into the new year with purpose, with peace, and with prayer. Okay, so why does a word of the year matter? So often we start the new year focused on everything we want to fix. But a word of the year shifts the focus from doing more to becoming more. Okay. A word grounds you when life gets busy. It helps guide your decision making, keeps you aligned when distractions pull you off your course, grows with you throughout the year. It's not a rule, it's a reminder.
I love that. And as you were listing all those things, it's so funny because we're going to share our specific words, that we feel like the Lord has given us and that we've chosen for our new year. But as you kept saying that already, like we're only a week. Oh my gosh, I really thought we were like 2 weeks into January. We're only a week into the new year. And I already have been so busy that like I've gone back to my word like at least 4 times and gone, okay, we're just going to do this thing. We're just going to do this because that's my word. I'm not going to focus on that. We're just going to do this. So that's really good. So we do want to talk a little bit about intention versus resolution, because if you do know us really well, we've been trainers for 10 plus years, like years and years, over a decade. We have, I can say words.
You know what's crazy about that? I've actually been a trainer majority of my life now.
Like
18 years. Yeah. Because I got certified 2 months after I graduated high school, and that was in May. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So majority of my life, I have been
all of your adult life.
Crazy.
I know. We've so trainers, let's see, that check off the boxes. Pretty much life coaches, business coaches, pastors, mentors. Like you would think that we're big fans of resolutions, right? Like we want to make a New Year's resolutions. We despise resolutions because resolutions are built on pressure. They give us this like fake goal. Like we just make them because we're like, we have to make a New Year's resolution. I'm going to do this. And then we just pull a thought out of thin air. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. No, you're not. That's a crazy goal. Do you have a plan to do that? No, like we're not just going to do that. So intentions.
Well, you can have that as a goal, and you set a
smart goal. No, sorry.
A lot of people just say without the goal and the focus. Because you can, if you're watching this and it is January, you can lose 50 pounds. I promise you this year.
You have to have like a plan. That's what I meant. You can. Hey, if weight loss is one of your goals, we want you to know we support you. I support you and you're losing 50 pounds. But you can't just say it. Like, have you thought about losing 50 pounds before? Or are you just like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this. Well, how? Right? So like intention versus resolution. Intention is built on purpose, right? So we love the idea of a word of the year because it's not about perfection and it's not about getting it right every day, but it is about having something steady to come back to, especially when life or your resolutions don't go as planned, right? Like what happens when you pick a resolution and January goes by and you haven't done anything? Usually people just give up on their resolutions. But if we are setting intentional words for ourselves, it's not meant to control our year. It's meant to support it. And so for me, faith is really important in fitting in with our word, right? I mean, both of us. So our podcast is called Blooming Through Faith, right? Like faith is a huge part of everything we talk about. And so when we prayerfully choose a word, we're saying, God, I want you involved in this year, not just my plans, but my heart. Like when I pick my word, I pray about it first. And so I know that this word didn't just come out of thin air. It didn't just come from something I saw on a billboard. Like if there's a word that you start thinking about, oh, what do I want my word of the year to be? What do I really want to see into this year? And God gives you a word, like that comes from somewhere. And we want you to pay attention to that. Like prayer does not have to be complicated. If you are brand new to your faith and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, it can be as simple as like, God, show me what I need this year. What do you want to grow in me? What do you want me to focus on? And then sometimes your word will confirm what you already feel. Actually, I'm going to say more times than not, the word God gives you is going to be a word that you already, it's just going to feel comfortable. You're going to be like, yeah, that's exactly what I need to do this year. Sometimes it challenges you. Sometimes it surprises you.
Yeah, that's so good. That is so, so, so good. And girls, if you're not already, pray about everything. Pray over your family, pray over your friends, pray over your business. Ask God to direct you in everything.
Pray over your enemies.
Yes. Pray over your enemies as well. We're going to pray over our enemies. Okay. Okay. So one thing we really want to be clear about though, is faith doesn't mean sitting back and waiting for life to happen to you. All right. As personal trainers and life coaches, we believe transformation happens when intention meets action. All right. Key action. So we have the intention and now we're meeting the goals and we're moving forward, right? So God can give you clarity, a word, and direction, but there's still a step for you to take. All right. That is good, right? Because a lot of times, like even in life and in business and in working out, that's the biggest thing is people are like, oh, I started this business, but I haven't been successful. It's been a year. Well, you weren't taking the action steps.
But I prayed about it.
Business. Right. And the same thing with what you're going back to losing 50 pounds. It's like, oh, I have a resolution to lose 50 pounds. Okay, babe, but you're not eating better. We're not getting to the gym. We're not taking, we're walking our steps or getting more sleep or whatever it takes. One thing at a time, you have to take that action. All right. So you can, okay, here's the thing is you can know exactly what you want to change. You can have the perfect plan, but nothing shifts until you start to move forward. Okay. Faith works the same way. Prayer sets the direction, but action activates it. Okay. Action activates it. That might be somebody's word. They're probably like action.
Yeah.
That's going to be my word of the year.
We're going to say it so many times. They're going to be like, that's it.
That's it. God put it on my heart. All right, girls, let's talk about intentional action over perfect action. This isn't about doing everything at once or making drastic changes overnight. We're not looking for perfect action. We're looking for intentional action. Your word of the year isn't meant to stay on paper. It's meant to shape your choices, your habits, and how you show up in everyday life.
Yeah. And I think I love what you just said about that. It's about intentional action. And so a lot of times too, even like we say pray about everything. And I talk to so many people who are like, well, I've done what God has told me to do. I've prayed about it and I'm here. But even every example that we see in the Bible, first we pray, then we move, right? And we trust that God is going to do what he said he was going to do because God always keeps his promises. So we trust that God is going to do what he said he would do. But we move, right? Like Moses, I'm just going to get really biblical for a second. Like God tells Moses to free the Jews from Egypt, get them out of slavery, take them to the promised land. He doesn't go, okay, God's going to do that. He told me that was going to happen. God's going to do that. No, he moved. Like he took them, right? Like we have to take ourselves and step by step, we have to move. So we're going to walk you through how to choose your word of the year. Okay. So first, step one, we want you to reflect on the last year. So ask yourself, and this is a good time where like, if you're out doing things and you really want to be intentional about choosing a word of the year, maybe this is a good place for you to pause and then come back to once you grab a notebook, grab a piece of paper, and these are the things you're going to want to jot down. So one, reflect on the last year. Ask yourself, what drained me? What gave me life? What lessons did I learn? This is a really important one. Where did I feel stretched? Like what stretched me? What grew me? What gave me life? What drained me? That's step one. Reflect on the last year. Step 2 is we ask God for clarity. So pray and sit quietly and ask yourself, what do I need more of this year? What do I need to release? A lot of the times that's the one we don't want to ask. Like, what do I need to get rid of? And what kind of woman do you, meaning we're talking to the Lord here, what kind of woman do you want me to become? So sometimes it's about releasing things that we're holding on to, right? We need clarity. So that's step 2. Step 3, notice what keeps coming up, okay? Don't ever think, and nothing is ever by coincidence. Nothing ever happens that's not in alignment. Your word may stand out in conversations. You might notice that you might think a word and then somebody else mentions it to you the same day, right? Like that's not a coincidence. It's going to stand out in conversations. It might show up in your journaling. It might even show up in a sermon that you're listening to, going to church, a podcast that you listen to, a TV show that you watch, something that your friends start talking about. It's going to feel peaceful, but it might challenge you or stretch you. That's okay. It's going to resonate with you when you hear it. You're going to hear this word and you're going to go, ooh, that is important, right? And then step 4, this is really important. Don't overthink it, okay? It doesn't have to sound spiritual. It doesn't have to sound big. I'm going to tell you what my word of the year is as soon as I finish this. And mine, to be honest, I was like, are you sure? Like, that doesn't sound, usually I have these like big, deep words of the year. This one was like pretty simple. I was like, okay. But already in this first week of January, it has impacted me over and over again. So it can be words like rest, trust, courage. Maybe it's consistency, peace, surrender. Like last year, my word was surrender. There was a lot that I had to release and let go. And I did. Bold, rooted, simplify, faithful. I mean, joyful. All words matter. Okay. So my word of the year that the Lord gave me that really kept coming up over and over again in my prayer time was move. And that is my word of the year. And I was really looking up, like, what does this mean? Where are there places where people were called to move biblically? And really, for me, the Lord kept showing me that, like, move wasn't like, maybe it didn't mean physically, but maybe it did. I have been moving physically this week.
She was just telling me about her spin class.
Yes, spin class. Okay, so I have been moving. But I think it just meant this last year, the Lord called me to release a lot of things. And now this year, the things that he has put before me, I'm not supposed to hesitate. I'm not supposed to wait. I'm not supposed to settle. My job is to move. And there have even been a couple of things, like we have a really huge event that's coming to our church that I was able to bring in that I'm very excited about. But I was really hesitating on it because I was like, man, this is going to bring like 1,000 people here. This is a huge event. I don't know if this is something I want to take on. And then the word pops in my head and the Lord was like, move. We move. We continue to move forward. So it might seem like it's not a big word, but it is in so many ways. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it absolutely.
What's your word of the year?
It absolutely makes sense. I love that. So my word of the year is becoming. Okay. So I personally chose becoming because I feel like for the first time in my whole life that I'm not in survival mode, that I'm healing. And that's huge because I've been searching for that for so long. There was a season where everything I felt like I had to fight for, fight to be seen, fight to be enough, fight to keep everything together. But this year really feels different. It feels like I'm able to restore. I feel like I am able to start aligning with things that God is taking me to. And a lot of things is I feel like I'm becoming who God has created me to be, right? So I don't need to prove my worth, my strength, my faith, or my calling. What's meant for me doesn't require constant explanation or validation. Alignment feels quieter than proving, but it's far more powerful. So for me, I felt like with all the trauma and things I've gone through in my life, I've always had to prove myself. I'm a people pleaser. I do this for this person, that for that person, try to save these situations. And I'm like, I don't have to do that. I'm not chasing anymore. I'm becoming, right? So becoming really means I'm stepping into who God has been preparing me to be this whole time. Not rushing, not forcing, not comparing, just showing up with faith, obedience, and consistency. And I really feel like I'm right on time. Like I'm not behind, I'm not late. I'm becoming, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I love that. And I think as someone who has known you for a really long time, I love that so much. And I think it's so evident to see, I think in places when you've been through trauma and stuff, even people that show, and this is something that's important. I'm kind of going off on a like side thing now, but I think it's important to note if you have ever been through any sort of trauma or really hard difficulty that has kind of changed you as a person, you can look at someone and they can seem very successful. They can seem like they've got it all together. There's probably a lot of people that look up to them. Like Brandi, her whole life is someone who just leads from the front. She is a successful human being. That's just like ingrained in her. Like if she sees something that she desires, she's going to go after it. She's going to be successful. She works hard. She cares about others. But behind that, there can always be these underlying things that we don't see in people that is like fight or flight, that is survival. Like, and so to see you go from a place where you're like, I work so hard, I'm like, almost like, I feel like it's the difference between trudging through mud and getting out of the mud and being on like hard paved road. Like you're no longer like trudging through the mud to get where you need to be. Now you're walking. If that makes, I know that's like kind of weird, but like it's so sweet to see. And I agree with you. I think becoming is definitely your word for the year.
But that totally makes sense because that's exactly how I feel. And I feel like what's so crazy with God's timing, right, is I pray for exactly what I want, right? I'm like, please, Lord. And like last year, my word was unbothered. I'm like, please. And I had to pray about it every single day when I was bothered about that. And I saw my transformation there, but I was like, Lord, please help me not worry about this. Please help me be unbothered. And so this year, I'm really focusing on peace and figuring out relationships, right? Because I was always the person who did all of the things, and that's not going to be it anymore. And so anyways, I'm really excited for the word of the year because like Cesley said at the beginning, when you have your word, it just, when you're thinking about, is this a yes or a no for me? Go back to your word of the year. Go back to your values. We'll probably have an episode on what are your core values because that aligns with everything that you should be saying yes or no to in life. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about for a second what a word of the year is not. Now that we know what it is, what is it not? It's not a guarantee. It's not a magic fix. And it's not something you have to live up to perfectly. And I think this is good for anything that you do in life, right? Even when it comes to setting goals, we talked about making them realistic. But like, if you fall off, who cares? Get back on, like, right? Like if you have a goal to wake up earlier in the morning and you did it 2 times a week instead of the 7, great, babe, you did it. Get back up the next day, right? It's not about perfection. It is about progress, right? All right. So now let's talk about, because we love the word action, like we said earlier, right? All right. So here's how we're going to turn your word into action, which is one of our favorite words now. All right. So here's where we want to encourage you to get practical. Once you have your word, ask yourself this: what is one small habit that supports this word? What is one thing I need to start doing? What is one thing I need to stop doing? I love this because we're always thinking about how can we add, what can we do, how do we change? No, how can we remove some things? How
that
can
was
we
my whole last year.
Yes.
I was like, I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take this out.
Yes. And then how can we stop some bad habits, right? So a lot of times it's like, hey, I have a goal to get to the gym 3 times a week. Well, how about let's have a goal of, removing, I don't know, let's think of something like watching TV an hour before bed or screen time. You know what I mean? It's like, it's different.
Or like waking up and getting on your phone. Cause a lot of times,
that's so bad.
That's a personal one. I'll wake up and get on my phone and then I'm like, it's 30 minutes later and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to be at the gym right now. This moment.
Well, the phone and social media, and we've said all the time, is positive and is negative, right? And so you got to control that. I actually got this thing. It's called a brick, Cecily, and I have no idea how it works. It's supposed to like stop all my social media and like phones in the house. So I'm gonna look into that.
Have you set it up yet?
I haven't set it up yet.
Oh.
But I need to set it up because that's me. This is how you go into recovery. We're just going down a rabbit hole, right? So we're never going to be perfect. We're always going to try. And one of my goals for the past few years has been, I want to unplug with the boys at night. I want to unplug for a few hours. And then something happens, and then work happens, and then a call happens, and then this happens, and that. Enough. It is, I don't care. My phone is going away. So that's why I got this brick, because in the time of playtime, dinner time, nap time, or bedtime, all that stuff, I want to be present. So I got this brick, and I will tell you how it goes, because sometimes you need help with sticking to the things that you want to stick with.
If it's great, we'll make an episode about it.
And we'll make an episode about it and all that fun stuff. So I'll keep you posted with that. Okay, wait, what were we talking about? All right, so let's talk about this for a second. So for example, if your word is rest, your action might be going to bed 30 minutes earlier. See, you're getting more rest. Yeah. If your word is bold, which is a great word, your action might be speaking up when you're normally quiet. Oh, love that. If your word is trust, your action might be letting go of control in one specific area. And if your word is consistency, your action might be showing up even when motivation is low.
Yeah. That's good. And that goes to what you just said about your own word from last year too, right? Like unbothered. There were still things that bothered her, right? But she had to say like, oh, no, I'm going to choose to be unbothered right now. And let me tell you, like, if the Lord has given you a word and you choose a word for this year, it's okay if it's a word that's tough for you. Like, let me tell you what, last year having to release things was really hard for me because I love the people that I'm around and I always want to say yes to them. And having to be like, no, I can't do this. No, I can't do that. No, I have to step away from this. Like, even last week, I got a phone call from a friend who I used to train with who was like, man, it would be so great if you would come back and do this and do that. And I was like, ooh, no. Like, but it's okay if it's hard. So we just want to like give you some encouragement that if you're listening and you're like, I don't feel ready for a new year, or I'm not ready for a new word, or I don't know how to do that. Like, I want you to hear this very clearly. You do not need to be ready for God to move. You just have to be willing. Okay? You just have to be willing. Your word is not about catching up. It's about moving forward and doing it one step at a time. And I will tell you, just out of everything else that Brandi and I do as coaches, we know this, that small, consistent action creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence. So I'll tell you from my word for this year, and even though it's only been a week, like I'm telling you, because I picked it, obviously, like I picked it back in mid-December. Like, so I already knew what my word was going to be. It's already created movement in me. Like the small, consistent action creates momentum. There have been times where I don't want to get up and get on my computer and do something. I want to sit and veg out. I want to ignore my alarm. I want to not get up and read my Bible. Like, we get tired. That's just normal human whatever. That's just how we are. Like, but the small, consistent action, I start thinking about that word and I'm like, oh, okay, I have to get up and move. That creates momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Because I did it one time, I'm like, okay, that wasn't so hard. Like, I can do that again. And then I did it again. I'm like, okay, that wasn't that hard. I can do it again. Like, you don't need a full year plan. You just need a next step. You have to realize that any action turns our intentions into that transformation.
Yeah, that's so good. And I love that what you said. It's like, okay, you did it. Okay, it wasn't that hard. Okay, you did it again. Okay, I can do that. Right. And the thing is, too, is you're not going to be motivated for the rest. Like, motivation's a feeling and it's fleeting, right? So you have to just do it in spite of, and no matter what it is that you're doing, whether it's eating healthy, whether it's exercising, whether it's reading your Bible, whether it's lunch with friends, afterwards you're going to feel better. Unless your friend's an energy vampire, then go back to our energy vampire.
Go back to that
episode. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. Grow Girls, here is your challenge for this week. Write down your word, choose one action item that aligns with it, commit to that action item for the next 7 days. Okay. We're just committing for 7 days. And we're not committing for the whole year, for the rest of our life, for 7 days. Okay. At the end of this week, check in with yourself. Notice how it feels. All right. Growth isn't always loud, but it's always happening when you move. And if you miss a day, give yourself grace, please, because we are not aiming for perfection. We are aiming for progress. God honors obedience even in small steps, and those small steps add to big change over time. This year doesn't need a perfect plan. It just needs a surrendered heart and a willing spirit. Remember, you are worthy, you are capable, you are beautiful, and we can't wait to watch you grow, girl.